important blessing is the bracha of Ameichim Mitzad Gover. So if you're looking on the Siddur on page 6, okay, page 6 over there. See it? Page 6, the bottom blessing right over there. Okay? So it's Ameichim Mitzad Gover, that we thank Hashem for directing the steps of man. Blessed are you, God, King of the universe, who directs the steps of man. Now, this is a very important bombshell that we read every morning, something very, very important, important foundation in our life that can help us in many, many ways, as we will see. First of all, everyone can hear me. Give me a thumbs up. If you can hear me, thumbs up, yeah? Okay. Can you hear? Okay, good, good. Yeah, very good. He who directs the steps of man. So remember, we're making blessings every morning. We bless Hashem for everything. We bless him for the rooster, for the alarm clock. We bless him for opening our eyes. We bless him then that we are able to move around a little bit. We bless Hashem that gives us strength and energy. And last week we learned about, we thank Hashem for the earth that we're standing on. We're not standing on water. We're standing on the earth. A blessing for the Aretz. And today, we're starting now to take a few steps, walking around our house a little bit, and we thank Hashem, Baruch Hashem, I can walk. I can walk around. Not only can I stand, but I can walk. So how do we say that blessing? We say, who directs the steps of man. So it's not enough that we're just walking and we can get around, which today, that's a big bracha, you know, that you can walk, get around. You know, you see how many people out there are walking with walkers, and stekalach, and all kinds of things they have to go with. And if you're able to walk, that's a bracha. But even more important is this deeper meaning of today's bracha, the Kabbalistic, the Hasidic, the mystical explanation of this bracha is who directs the steps of man. Who is directing us, our steps? We say it's Hashem. This is the very important foundation of Judaism, is that wherever we go, wherever we end up, it's never a mistake. Whatever we're doing in life, whichever city you live in, whatever community you're with, whatever family you have and you're dealing with, which people, your boss, your company, everything is directed. It's pre-orchestrated. So this is what we say, who directs the steps of man. Hashem is the director of our life. He is the director of the world. So he's directing our life, he's directing our steps. So many people say, no, that's a coincidence. There's no such thing as a coincidence. Many say it's happenstance. There's no such thing as happenstance. I don't even know what happenstance means. But it means that it's random, and we don't believe anything is random. As the Talmud says, Hakol b'dei shamayim, everything is in the hands of heaven. Yes, let's talk a little bit about that first, and then we'll get to more the theological questions about how do we really have free choice then if Hashem is directing everything we do. But we'll leave that question for the end. But before that, I want to tell you that I've seen it time and again. I'm sure many of you have seen it. How Hashem is directing the steps of man. That everything we do is like we have no idea why we're there, how we end up there, but it's with Hashem's plan. And we call it Hakol B'dei Shamayim. It's called Hashgacha Pratis. I don't know if you ever heard that word. It's probably one of the most mispronounced words in Judaism. Hashgacha Pratis, Hashgacha, many ways that people pronounce it. But it means that everything is divine providence. It means that Hashem watches out over us and he directs us. So you go somewhere, you wake up in the morning, you get out, you go on a bus, you go on a train, you go on a, and you think you're in a certain place just because you've made those choices. No. It's a plan. It's part of a plan. I remember as one of the most, the nicest films we used to show our kids, videos. After the Rebbe passed away, there was a video that was called "To Be a Chassid." It's a video made by a woman named Malka Tauger, Chabad Chassidah. And the name of the video is "I Am a Chassid." I am a Chassid. And it was a little video that was made for kids to learn from the Rebbe, to learn the Rebbe's teachings. And one of the ideas that the Rebbe spoke a lot about was Hashgacha Pratis, that everything happens for a reason. So it's a cute little video. It has maybe 10 skits in it. And the first skit, or the second skit, is a skit about the concept that the Rebbe taught of Hashgacha Pratis, that everything happens for itself. The story goes like this in this video that was made for the kids, So I'm going to tell you the story. But there's a part of the story that becomes my story, or our story, our family story. But you'll see shortly how that happened. So let me tell you the story, that this little video that was made for the kids, they had a little skit. So it opens up in this story. A young boy, maybe he's 8 years old. He's going in the morning to catch his bus to go to school. And he's running and he misses his bus. So he runs into a teacher that happens to be standing nearby. And the teacher asks him, "Why are you so sad?" The boy says, "I missed my bus." So the teacher says, everything that happens is for a reason. Everything's Hashgacha Pratis. So you're going to have to walk to school. So on your way to school, I have an envelope. I have a letter that I want to send to my friend Johnny. He lives on Union Street. Go take this letter and drop it off by him. He lives on 1322 Union Street. So he gives him the letter. The young boy, he walks to school instead of taking the bus. I guess it wasn't a very far distance. And on the way, he stops on Union Street. And he's going to give this letter to Johnny, who lives in this house. And he's trying to remember what the address was exactly. He couldn't remember 1322, 1320, 1318. Couldn't remember the exact address. And he's walking back and forth and back and forth. And as he's looking for the address, an African-American policeman was walking past. And he asked the young man, "What are you looking for?" He says, "I'm looking for Johnny Hackner's house. He lives on the street. I have to deliver him an envelope." He said, "I know Johnny," the policeman says. "I'm quite friendly with him. I know which house it is." So he shows him the house. And as he's showing him the house, the young boy says, he just heard from his teacher that everything that happens is for a reason. So the young boy says to the policeman, "Oh, that's Hashgacha Pratis." This policeman hears the word. He goes further and he takes the young boy, Johnny, and the young kid says, they open the door and Johnny sees that policeman there and he says, "Wow, that's incredible. I just wanted to thank you. The other day you helped me out. I had a flat tire and I didn't have a chance to thank you. Isn't that such Hashgacha Pratis?" So the policeman says, "Wow, man, I'm hearing from everyone this word Hashgacha Pratis. What does this word mean?" So Johnny explains, Hashgacha Pratis means that everything that God does is for a reason, it's for a plan, and it's all meant to be. You came to my door now to show this young boy to drop off the letter. God wanted I should be able to thank you for what you helped me out. So the cop says, that's very good. I learned something, that everything God does is for a reason, Hashgacha Pratis. So the clip continues, and the policeman who's acting out the story, right? He goes down the street, and he's going down. He sees his friend Benji Stock. He's a great activist in the community. And Benji says, "Wow, just the man I was looking for," he says to the policeman. He says, the other day, you gave me a permit. You organized a permit for a parade we did for the school. And I could say thank you to you." So the policeman says to Benji, Isn't that hashgacha pratis? So Benji said, what? Like he said, oh, how do you know that? So that's how the video ends, that he tells him about, so you see how everything in life is for a reason. So that's the little video clip that they showed the kids to learn about the importance to realize that everything happens for a reason, and whoever you bump into, always a reason. But the story doesn't end there. At least in our life, it didn't end. My kids used to watch this video very, very often in our house. Chabad, we don't watch too much TV, so we used to have these little videos. Those days it was, I don't know, it was a CD. Well, it was before a CD. It was a VHS or something that put inside. I don't know if anyone knows what that is anymore. That's what it was. About 17, 18 years ago, it was just after 9/11. We all know what happened in 9/11 in the year 2001. It's, I guess that's about 22 years ago, 23 years ago. So we all know what happened, the terrible tragedy. And it was a massive tragedy. Thousands of people were murdered, cold blood, by terrorists were sent by Osama bin Laden from Al Qaeda, take down a few planes, take down a few buildings. The Twin Towers, which I grew up with, was in New York, was decimated. So my kids, what happened was, we happened to there was a family in our community who lost a son in the 9/11. So it's really alive in our community. There was a fellow named Edmund Glazer. He was a young man who was in business in LA, and he lived in Boston with his family. And he traveled a lot from Boston to LA. And on that fateful morning, he was on that plane, the second plane. And his parents are members in our shul. Yeah. So I had the terrible honor of breaking the news to the parents that their son had just been murdered, had been killed, was in that second plane that they saw on the news. So afterwards, they swabbed the parents' the mouths, and they found the DNA, and they checked out the remains, and they actually found some remains from that young man, that businessman Edmund. And they brought him to burial, and he's buried today in our shul cemetery. He's buried. I remember when they brought his remains, wrapped in an American flag, and they brought him here, and it was like a whole ceremony, because he's like an American hero. So he's buried in our shul cemetery. If you ever go there, you'll see there's a guy named Edmund Glazer who died in 9/11. He is in our section in part of Shalom. It's just an interesting thing. So in our house, a lot of conversation about 9/11. So maybe it was 2 years afterwards, 3 years after 9/11. Maybe it was a year after. My kids said, "Let's go, Daddy. We want to go to see. Let's go see the what they call Ground Zero. It's the place." And people then were lining up. They were lining up for blocks and blocks, and people were going. So it was Erev Shabbos. I'm taking my kids to New York. My kids say they want to go there. So we went over there. I went looking for a parking place. Couldn't find a parking place. Goldie went with the kids to line up on the line. They come to the line, and they're waiting to go online to get to the place of Ground Zero, to make a little prayer for this fellow that died from our community, and for all the other holy people that died in that terrible tragedy. And Goldie's there with the kids, and it's late. It's already almost Shabbos. We have to get back to Crown Heights from Manhattan. That's a job in itself. So, and they come there, they see this massive line, and everyone's, you have to go to the back of the line. But if they go to the back of the line, they came all the way from Toronto. So Goldie went with the kids, and she went to the front of the line, She came over to the guy in charge. There was some police in charge of this. She went over. They said, this guy is the guy in charge. So I went over to this policeman, and she says, can we get a favor here, because we keep the Shabbat, and it's almost Shabbos, and we want to be able to show our respects. The guy says, hey, lady, everybody here is coming from somewhere else. You can't go to the front of the line. You have to go to the back of the line. One of my kids looked at that policeman's face, and because they watched the movie so many times in our house, the Hashgacha Pratis policeman, they recognized the guy's face. It was the same guy that worked in Crown Heights, and he was on this video that was made many years earlier, and they recognized his face. I don't recognize his teeth or something. I don't know exactly what. So one of my kids says, tell me, are you the Hashgacha Pratis policeman? The guy says, yeah, you guys know me. They say, yeah, we saw you on the video. They said, okay, you guys are my friends. You know me. So I'm going to get you to the front of the line. He says, but let me ask you guys, don't you think this is a case of Hashgacha Pratis? He said to my kids, the kids went like that, hit the policeman reminded, isn't this Hashgacha Pratis? The divine providence. So Hashem leads people, directions. We meet people. We don't know where we're going to meet them again. And my kids got to the front of the line, and they were so happy. When I came there, I came to the front. They said, come, Daddy, we met the Hashgacha Pratis policeman. Straight from the movie. He was there. So that was his new job. His new job was he was in charge of Ground Zero, and we were the lucky ones because we bumped into him. So that's the story of Hashgacha Pratis in Hashgacha Pratis itself, right? It's with this Hashgacha Pratis policeman who happened to be the actor in this movie. Now, when I came back to Toronto, I told the story and I said, it's interesting because Ground Zero is one of the saddest places in the world. And we could think that God is not there because it's like Auschwitz. It's like a terrible, tragic place where so many people died. And, one can think that in a place like that, God looked away and he's not paying attention. So I think what had happened over there by us running into the Hashgacha Pratis policeman, my kids, in the very same place of one of the greatest tragedies, Hashem was saying, smiling and saying, I'm still here, Kindlech. I'm around. You don't understand why things happen, and we don't understand why. We still don't understand. But once in a while, we get a little a clue that Hashem is really, that it is part of a master plan, that there is a picture, and there is Hashgacha Pratis. So this is what we say in today's section, Hamechem Mitzad Gaver. He who directs the steps of man. That's direct the steps of man. There are so many things going on in this world. We don't even start to see these things. Once in a while, we get a little glimpse of the big picture. Now that day, our family had a little glimpse of the Hashgacha Pratis. But just give me 1 second over here. I have something to do. Those that are watching, I'm back. Don't worry, I didn't run away. We are back. So, but now we have to analyze this a little bit deeper. A little bit deeper. We say that everything is in the hands of heaven. That Hashem directs everything. That's what we believe. We believe that Hashem is in charge, he's the boss, and he directs everything, he orchestrates everything. Yeah. everything is in the hands of heaven. But at the same time, we also say everything is in the hands of heaven besides the fear of heaven, which means that we have free choice. So if we have free choice, how does this work out exactly? Hashem is directing steps of man, right? What if somebody decides to commit a robbery or a murder, chas v'shalom, or maybe a smaller sin? Someone wants to go to a place to speak a little gossip. Do we say then as well that Hashem directs the steps of man? Let's say all day long you do things that are not so good, right? So is Hashem still directing our steps? Or are we directing our own steps then? If we're directing our own steps, what does it mean he directs the steps of man? By the way, this verse, this bracha, Hameichim Mitzad Gaver, is based on a psalm of King David, one of the psalms of King David. It says, Mahashem, from God, Mitzad Gaver Kanana. God establishes the steps of man. So it's from the Psalms, it's based on the Psalms. The men of the Great Assembly who lived 2,500 years ago were quoting King David, who lived 2,800 years ago. Right? So this is as old as the Bible itself. The concept that Hashem directs our steps. But what does that mean that he directs our steps? So this is one of the big questions that theologians, philosophers, working on Kabbalists have been trying to figure out how this works together. How is it possible that there's a plan of God, but there also is our free choice, that we make choices in life. And a lot of what we do is influenced by our choices. So there are three approaches to this whole thing. Yeah. And why must there be free choice? There has to be free choice, because otherwise, if Hashem is directing us, right, like we say on Yom Kippur, we are like the hammer in the hand of the carpenter, right? We are like the instrument in the hand of the artist, right? That's what we say on Yom Kippur and Rosh Hashanah. So why are we responsible for our actions if God is making us do whatever we're doing? Right? He's really, if you think about it, he's taking the gun in the hand of the murderer, pushing his hand. You can't say that, because then nobody's responsible for their actions. Right? If somebody forces you to do something, whoever, if it's a person or it's a God, then you're not responsible for your actions. And we know that Judaism believes that we are responsible for our actions. That's why we must say this free choice. A free choice is a foundation of our belief. There is no reward and punishment if there is no free choice. So we must have free choice. So we must say that there is free choice. Then how does divine knowledge of our whole world, that God knows already before we're going to do something, he knows exactly what we're going to do because he prepared it already for us. How do the two things reconcile? This is one of the biggest questions around. So you have three groups of philosophers, even within Judaism. One group says that really free choice is not so much. It's mostly Hashem. Free choice is just in our mind. But ultimately, it's Hashem that's directing everything that's happening. That's one group of philosophers, or theologians. Another group says Hashem doesn't really direct our steps exactly. He creates choices. He gives you every day, he gives you two paths. Yeah. So every day, he gives you two ways that you can go. He prepares your steps, but he gives you like a maze. You have a few ways to go. He prepares the maze, and you could choose which route you want to go. So he gives you two paths to go every day. So when it says he prepares your steps, what it means is he's already outlined different ways that you can go. And it's up to us to decide which way we want to go. Like, almost look at it like it's like videos or CDs or whatever. It gives you a few possible CDs. You decide which one you put into your channel. But either one, every one of them are already prepared, right? It's a prefab. The roots are already there. It's up to us to choose which one we want to go on. Yeah. So that is a second approach. And in this route, it is mostly our free choice. And the Hashem's directing our steps is only after we choose it on which route we want to take. So that's a second approach. The third approach, which probably is the most famous one, which is the approach of Rambam, which is a middle road between these two. Like the first one said, it's mostly divine providence. The second route said it's mostly free choice. God just gives us the possibilities. The third route is that of the Rambam. And the Rambam says that we don't understand God's knowledge. It's beyond our understanding, the knowledge of God. So think of it this way. It's almost like if you were to take a time machine and go forward in time and see the future, right? And then you came back to the present. I don't know if you ever saw, there was one famous film, it's called Back to the Future, right? So when you find out what's going to be in the future, you come back, you want to make changes, right? So that's the way it works. But if you go forward into the future and you see the choices that were made, you don't influence those choices. You basically just know about the choices. And then when you come back into the present, you know what's going to happen in the future. But you know it because it happened already. So in the same way, God is beyond time. Him, the past, present, the future is one. So he knows already what you're going to do tomorrow. Not because he's making you do it. He's not, he knows it because he's seen you how you've done it already. He's seen tomorrow, today. He knows what's going to happen tomorrow, right? Like a prophet. A prophet knows what's going to happen in the future before it happens. So almost in the same way, Hashem knows everything that's going to happen without influencing our choices. Okay, so these are three ways, but regardless of which way you're going to say, the pillar of Judaism is that it's free choice, and a pillar in Judaism is at the same time slightly contradictory, but reconcilable, is the belief that Hashem directs the steps of man. Either he creates the possibilities, or he directs us, or he just is aware of it and knows about all our choices because he is the all-knowing God. So whichever way you're going to choose, the important point of today's class is that that Hashem directs the steps of man. That everything that happens in our life is with Hashem's consent, with his direction, with his orchestration. He is like the big film director. So the world has, according to this, a big picture. And that's important to know. There's a big picture. There's a bigger picture than we understand. A lot of times we have questions of why bad things happen to good people, or why good people prosper. These are the questions we're going to have every day. But the only comfort is that we know that there is a bigger picture. Someone came over to me the other day and says, Rabbi, such great tragedy happened. Says, Rabbi, what's the explanation? Why did this happen to us? Why did this happen to our community? Someone died very young. It was a terrible tragedy. Came over to me. I said, I don't know. I don't know the answers, to be honest with you. I don't know. I told him, I said, I am in sales. I'm not in management. You need to speak to management. I'm just a rabbi. We're in the sales business of religion. Well, we don't know all the answers. You need to speak to management. So the guy liked the answer. Came back a few days later. He didn't understand what I told him. I'm in sales now. And I came back a few days later and he saw me. He said, oh, I just understood what you said. You're in sales, not in management. But we believe that there is a management. And it's a benevolent management. And the management takes care of the world. And although some points we have questions and things, but we believe that there is a bigger picture, and then nothing happens by mistake, no happenstance, no accidents. Everything is hashgacha pratis, like the African-American policeman taught us. Everything is from Hashem. And even at 9/11, even at such a tragic place at 9/11, hashgacha pratis. There still is a big picture. And maybe one day, when we meet up with management, we don't want to meet up with management so fast. But one day when we do meet up with management, we'll ask our questions. And I'm sure management will explain to us. And we'll say, wow, incredible. It's truly God directing the steps of man. Anyways, I wish you all Chag Sameach. If you didn't have a chance yet to sit in the sukkah, try to find the sukkah somewhere to make a bracha in the sukkah. That's a mitzvah. And also, if you didn't do yet lulav and esrog, you can come by the house or the shul. We'll be glad to bench with you the lulav and esrog. This is big mitzvah to do it on the holiday of Sukkah. So we wish everyone Chag Sameach, Moedim L'Simcha, a happy holiday, and don't forget this Friday, tomorrow night is Shmini Atzeres. The 8th day of Sukkot. There's Yizkor on Saturday morning. If you don't know that. And there's also Saturday night is Simchat Torah. That's the festival when we complete the reading of the Torah. Every year as Jews, we complete a cycle of reading the Torah from beginning to the end. And the Siyum, the conclusion, the finishing of the entire Torah scroll, we read the last lines on the day after Sukkot, which is Simchat Torah. It's a festival in its own right, and it's customary for the men to have aliyahs to the Torah on that day in shul by day. But we have great dancing that takes place when we finish the Torah, because of the siyum, because we concluded the entire cycle and we lived to read the Torah again and again. So we rejoice in the reading of the Torah. So that's going to be on Saturday night, big party at the shul, and every shul around the city, and Sunday morning, that's actually when they finish the last lines of the Torah, and immediately they start Bereshit from the beginning of the Torah again. So we wish everybody a nice weekend, and I think after that comes Thanksgiving somehow. I don't know how that fits in, but we always have to be thankful to Hashem for all His blessing. So have a good one, guys. For those who are watching from America, it's the Canadian Thanksgiving. Okay. All the best. Sei gesund und stark.
That's Chag Sameach.
Anyone have any questions? Any questions, anybody? Huh? Anybody with a question?
Chag Sameach.
Chag Sameach. That's an answer, not a question. Yeah. Okay. So take care, everybody.
Rabbi. Wonderful lesson.
Thank you very much.
Thank you all.
Thank you.
Rabbi, the
Yeah.
only question I have is there's no answer, so there's no use asking it. Why do certain things happen? Why does God want them to happen? So especially 9/11 and a few other things, the Holocaust.
Yeah.
There's no end to these.
I alluded to that.
Yes, there's
go
no
to
answer. So
Go to
I gave
management. Go to management.
no, thank you, not yet.
Okay, very good.
No
Very good.
rush.
Thank you, Rabbi. Chag Sameach, Shabbat Shalom,
Chag
everybody.
Sameach, Shabbat Shalom.
Thank you, Rabbi.
Thank you.